What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. For years now, Russia's war in Ukraine has been sold to a domestic audience as a story of technological superiority. Drones everywhere, eyes in the sky, an omnipresent invisible net that sees everything and punishes movement instantly. On the battlefield, however, that net looks a lot less impressive up close. It's noisy, fragile, expensive, and absolutely dependent on mass production to compensate for how easily it breaks. For Ukrainian infantry stuck in trenches, forests, and ruined villages, Russian drones are not some abstract symbol of modern warfare, not anymore. They're just a daily, relentless threat. Reconnaissance Mavics hovering just out of reach, FPVs diving in with explosives, ambush drones parked along roads waiting patiently for movement like metallic landmines with propellers. The response so far has been practical, brutal, and imperfect. Shotguns, portable electronic warfare kits, expensive interceptor drones used sparingly because shooting down a 500 FPV with a far costlier interceptor makes absolutely no financial sense in a war of attrition, and electronic warfare works until just it doesn't. Russians came up with even optic fiber drones later to counter it completely. Shotguns work until the human behind them make a mistake. And maintaining a permanent electronic dome over every position is just simply impossible. Which is precisely why Ukraine keeps doing what it has done since the very first days of the invasion. Adapt faster than Russia can copy. This is not a story about $1 billion defense contracts or futuristic AI warfare, no. It's about the Ukrainian engineer, a single person, a mechanical solution that costs less than a family dinner, and a simple idea that turns Russia's greatest battlefield advantage into liability. A net in the sky. Not to destroy drones, but to catch them. Quietly, cheaply, and sometimes to steal them outright. Russian assaults do not move blindly. They creep forward until under constant aerial surveillance. Every trench rotation, every supply run, every attempt to reposition equipment is watched, catalogued, and corrected with artillery or FPVs. A hovering quadcopter is often more dangerous than a tank, because it never sleeps and it does not need permission to kill. Ukrainian units learned this the hard way early on. A single drone can pin an entire platoon in place, freezing movement for hours. And once FPVs arrive, hesitation becomes fatal. The first line of defense was human. Shotguns became as essential as rifles. Infantry, artillery crews, tankers, even communications units started carrying them. A drone dives low, someone fires, and if they're fast and lucky enough, the threat disappears in a cloud of plastic and metal. Portable electronic warfare systems followed. Jammers that could not knock drones out of the sky or force them to retreat. Effective tools, but, well, limited ones. Batteries drain, signals fluctuate, terrain interferes. And then Russian operators adapt constantly, shifting frequencies and tactics. Interceptor drones were the next logical step. Ukraine began hunting Russian UAVs with its own aircraft. At first, pilots simply rammed enemy drones mid-air. Effective but, well, wasteful. One drone sacrificed for one drone destroyed. FPVs later improved the ratio, but, well, the equation remained the same. You kill the target, but you lose the interceptor. It works, yes, but it bleeds resources. Mounting shotguns directly into drones sounded like a breakthrough. Next step. A flying hunter, capable of firing and returning home. Well, in reality, physics intervened. Recoil destabilized drones, some of them fell, never came back. Ammunition capacity was laughable. Just 1 or 2 shots and that's it, then a long flight back to reload. Each added gram reduced flight time and maneuverability. The sky was still a hunting ground, but the cost of every hunt remained high. What Ukraine needed was something different, something that did not rely on electronics, something that did not care about signal interference, battery drain, or firmware updates, something brutally simple. And this is exactly what one engineer was able to come up with. Let's talk about his genius solution in our next chapter. Andrei Pavlovsky did not start this war building weapons for the sky. Like many Ukrainian engineers, he initially focused on logistics, robots, and bomb disposal machines. Tools designed to save lives, not chase drones, basically. But war has a way of forcing pivots. When the air above the front lines turned hostile, he shifted his attention upward. At first, Pavlovsky experimented with advanced solutions. Recoil-free shotgun shells designed specifically for drones, clever engineering, carefully balanced and effective. But while working on these complex systems, he kept returning to a simpler idea he initially dismissed as too sloppy to actually work. A mechanical solution, not electronics, no software, no frequencies to jam or protect. No, just physics. And the result was Aero Trawl. At first glance it looks almost absurd. A net hanging beneath a drone, reminiscent of fishing trawls dragged behind ships or mine-sweeping equipment used at sea. But instead of traditional mesh, Aero Trawl uses vertical high-strength slings. Thin cords designed to do one single thing and extremely well. Catch spinning propellers. Once entangled, a drone is finished. It does not explode, it does not even necessarily fall immediately, no, it simply loses the ability to fly, still stuck in the net. The entire system weighs around 300 grams, less than a quarter of what shotgun interceptors weighed. Aerodynamically neutral, no recoil, no electronics, it can be attached to quadcopter in about a minute with just basic clips or ties. From takeoff onward, it's always active. The method of use is almost unsettling in its simplicity. A Russian drone is spotted either visually or via radar, a Ukrainian drone launches and approaches. Ideally it carries a thermal camera as well, obviously, allowing the operator to see the target clearly. And the approach does not even have to be perfect. Multiple attempts are possible. The Russian operator sees the Ukrainian drone coming closer but sees nothing else. The trawl is invisible at distance. And by the time the enemy pilot understands what is happening, guess what? It's already over, it's already too late. There is no dramatic explosion, no warning, no, just silence. And the Ukrainian drone coming back to base with a trophy. Now a Russian drone, soon to be repurposed to attack its previous owners. I mean, how simple and genius is it? Makes you wonder why nobody came up with it sooner, right? What makes absolutely the biggest and game-changing difference is that this system allows Ukrainians to literally double their drone inventory, triple, quadruple, even more, because the same drone can capture multiple Russian drones. All of that is later used, of course. Every piece of hardware counts at war. So just one small invention solves two problems at the same time: protecting Ukrainian soldiers and resupplying drone units with fresh devices. I mean, it's just so smart and easy. I want to dedicate the whole chapter to discuss it all in more details. Let's do it right now. The real genius of Aero Trawl is not that just it brings drones down. It's that it gives Ukrainian forces a choice. The captured drone can be released immediately, sent tumbling to the ground, or it can be carried away, flown back behind Ukrainian front lines, retrieved intact once its battery dies. A flying intelligence gift, basically. In a war where information matters as much as firepower, this is enormous. Captured drones reveal frequencies, firmware, camera systems, wiring layouts, and operational patterns. Every intact UAV is a lesson Russia did not intend to teach. And the cost comparison is humiliating. A Russian ambush drone costs around $1,000 to $1,500. A DJI Matrix reconnaissance drone costs around $5,000. Aero Trawl costs roughly $20. That ratio alone explains why the system spread quickly. One Ukrainian unit reportedly brought down 14 Russian drones using single Aero Trawl. No jamming, no expensive interceptors, no, nothing, just single net, and that's pretty much it. And the system did not stop there. Pavlovsky adapted Aero Trawl for offensive roles as well. The same mechanical simplicity allowed drones to carry and place explosive charges. It allowed them to also place antennas, communication towers, artillery barrels. Tests showed that the drone could attach an explosive and just retreat before detonation. A net that catches drones can also become the hand that plants bombs, basically. Material choice mattered as well. Kevlar slings proved nearly invisible, detectable only at extremely close range. But even cheaper, thicker slings work just as well, reducing cost even further. In war where scale matters, cheap wins over elegant. Several hundred Aero Trawls units are already in use today by frontline infantry and assault units. Not elite rare formations, no, just ordinary soldiers sitting under constant drone surveillance. Special forces use them too. But the system's true value lies with those who live under drones every single day. Production for now, unfortunately, is limited. Pavlovsky has been assembling them himself, basically. One person can produce around 10 units per day with minimal technical training, so scaling up is obviously the very next step. And so Russia predictably tried to replicate the idea. One similar system was observed in Sumy region, but as with many Russian military innovations, the execution revealed deeper problems. The Russian version used a rectangular net design that created drag and instability. Wind pushed it off course, maneuverability suffered, high-speed control became difficult, the drone effectively turned into a sail. Worse still, the vertical net prevented captured drones from being transported. No intelligence recovery, no secondary missions, no flexibility, nothing. The system required highly skilled pilots and favorable weather conditions. In other words, it kinda worked on paper, but failed under a real combat pressure. Pavlovsky, on the other hand, didn't design Aero Trawl in a vacuum. He studied earlier experiments, including Ukrainian attempts from 2015 and even a Japanese police demonstration that went viral years ago. Those early designs required heavy hexacopters and suffered from the same issues Russia now faces. Too bulky, too rigid, too dependent on ideal conditions. The difference this time was the approach. Not refining the old idea, no, but abandoning it entirely. No mesh, no large frames, no compromise between roles, just vertical slings, minimal weight, and maximum flexibility. Russian systems burned by bureaucracy, corruption, and obsession with appearances struggled to adopt such brutally utilitarian designs. So simple, but they still can't recreate them, come on. Ukraine fighting for survival has no such luxury. If it works and it's cheap, it will be used. Aero Trawl is not a wonder weapon. It will not end the war. It will not replace artillery, missiles, or air defense systems. But it perfectly captures the asymmetry of this conflict. Russia relies on scale, money, and the illusion of technological dominance. Ukraine relies on ingenuity, speed, and understanding that wars are won not just by destroying the enemy, but by exhausting them economically and psychologically. A $20 device that quietly captures a 5,000 drone does more than remove a threat from the sky. It humiliates the system that built it. It turns surveillance into vulnerability. It reminds Russian operators that the air is no longer theirs alone. Most importantly, it gives Ukrainian soldiers something priceless. A way to fight back against the constant presence above them without betting their lives or resources on fragile, expensive solutions. No signals to jam once again, no software to update, no grand announcements. No, just a simple drone, net, and a very bad day for whoever thought the sky belonged only to them. And in this war, that kind of simplicity might be the one most dangerous weapons of them all. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support our work, the links down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.